Hi, my name is FADI. Welcome to Jamjar.
Let's start with your childhood, FADI. What's your backstory? Like, where did you start? Where are you from? That kind of thing.
I'm originally Lebanese. My parents were traveling and working in Abu Dhabi, and I was born there. I lived in the UAE until I was a teenager, and then my parents went back home. Spent a few years home. I did a bachelor in hospitality management and started working myself up from a server up to management. Works in freestanding restaurants in Lebanon, and then when I moved to Dubai, I started working with the Ritz-Carlton. Then after that, worked for the Raffles Hotels. Then Fairmont when I came to Vancouver. So I was working in, I was the director of food and beverage at Fairmont Vancouver Airport before I started my own business.
So why did you want to open up your own restaurant?
Well, foolishly, I thought I wanted to work less hours. I wanted to have my own business. But of course, that's the complete opposite. I'm working all the time now. So I grew up in hospitality. My first job was working in my uncle's bakery at cashiers, and at a young age, just interacting with people, and I just grew to love it.
So how did you go about doing it? Like, how long did it take you from the conception in your brain to opening your first day?
It was pretty scary. I didn't know where to start. I had no previous experience opening a restaurant in Vancouver. I think I quit my job and just opened an office in our living room, basically.
Yeah.
And did a lot of research and started asking questions and speaking to people, and mostly telling people that this is what I want to do. Do you have any advice? I started speaking to other people who have done it before.
I wanted advice to someone opening up a restaurant.
Know your numbers.
Okay.
And that I learned that the hard way. The first time I went to the bank and asked them for money to borrow for the first restaurant, and I wasn't completely prepared. And they asked me very basic questions. Well, how much money do you expect to make? And I was like, I just want to open a restaurant, and I want to make people happy. So it wasn't. So I learned a lot from that first failure, and it kind of paved the way to me doing more research and doing my due diligence, if you may, a little bit better, rather than jumping into it.
How long do you think it took?
Well, I think I quit my job in April. I think we opened October 7th. So between, applying for permits with the city, preceded by, coming up with drawings and interior design with the designer and the architect, coming up with the logo, figuring out the name to begin with, and all of that. So that whole process took.
What would you say you learned from the whole process? Can you talk maybe a little bit the boring stuff, maybe the paperwork, the permits, all that kind of stuff?
Well, to begin with, I had no idea that the permit from the city takes 3 to 6 months, and that was, the time factor, but also the red tape that you have to go through. It's a pretty lengthy, time-consuming and expensive process, which I didn't anticipate. But I guess like anything difficult the first time, the second time around gets easier. I guess because you kind of know what to expect, so you're not as surprised.
Now you have 4 locations now. How long after you opened the first one did you open the second one?
I would say 8 months after we opened the first location, which was just a couple doors down. Started seeing, I would say, a different type of clientele come into our restaurant. From feedback, they just wanted a different experience. They wanted a nicer seating area. They wanted a better service. Things like that got me thinking, okay, well, there's potential for us to do another restaurant. The thought process started, but then, started talking about it. And then once we started talking about it, we started looking for another location. I think we opened the second one 2017. So it's 3 years after.
3 years?
Yeah.
Where are all your locations? You have one here on Commercial Drive.
Yeah, and we opened our South Granville location
South
on West 11th and Granville. And we opened that 2017 in March. And then we opened our UBC location in September of the same year. And we just opened North Vancouver in August of this year.
Talk about maybe success and failure and mistakes and victories. Did you learn more from your mistakes, or would you say you learned more from your victories?
You know, as human beings, we're always learning. And I think the lessons you learn most of are your biggest mistakes, because they're the ones that burn you the most or you remember the most, and you're a lot more cautious in the future. Like, I don't ever want to repeat that. I learned from just the pace that we've grown, that rushing into something is not a good thing. We learned that mistake at South Granville when we went into that location without doing our checks, if you may, and then a year later our entire refrigeration system broke down, and the heating broke down the year after that, and things started falling apart, and we didn't really do our homework with like setting up the kitchen properly, so we had lots of food delays in the beginning and issues like that. And that was one restaurant that I look back and it's like, could I have done this better? And I say, absolutely, I could have done that better by, taking a step back and doing it right rather than just getting it done.
Obviously, you worked in customer service your whole life. What's your customer service philosophy? How do you incorporate that with Jamjar?
Kill them with kindness. It's the only way to go. We always train our staff that the cliche is very true.
Yeah.
Customer is always right. They're not always right, but they should never be made to feel that they're not right. And people can get a meal anywhere. It's the most easily replicable product in the world. Anybody can make food, some with better degrees than others. But it's a privilege when somebody comes and pays money to sit in your restaurant, and people should be treated accordingly. And we always tell our staff, people don't dine out just to eat, they dine out to have an experience. They want to feel good, and our job is to make them feel good, regardless of whether you've had a really bad day or had a fight with somebody or just sick of being at home with the kids. It's your time to enjoy your time. Yeah. So we're not here to make you feel bad. We want to be catalysts in making you have a great dining experience. So. Jamjar is a Lebanese restaurant that uses from scratch approach cooking to food. So we wanted to bring traditional Lebanese food to the Vancouver dining scene. And we have a lot of fruit that grows in Lebanon. And when it's in full season, we grow too much of it, so it just becomes super cheap. So people take this abundance of fruit, they turn it into jam. But Lebanese in culture are very hospitable and very generous, so they end up taking the jam and giving them to friends and family. So it's a showing affection through food, and that's where the name comes from. People judge you by your hummus. If your hummus is no good, you're not a Lebanese restaurant. So we take our hummus very, very seriously. So do as our tabbouleh salad. So usually if I'm dining back home and I go, I'm like, can I try the hummus? I'm like, hummus is no good, I'm not dining there. But our cauliflower, deep fried cauliflower tossed in pomegranate molasses is our top selling dish along with our hummus. We do a sampler of hummus called the Hummus Trio, and we changed a couple of flavors every month. That's the only non-traditional thing that we do. That's our kind of Vancouver's infatuation with hummus, and we're like, let's feed it what it wants. Tabal, which people know as baba ghanoush, which is the roasted eggplant dip. A fattoush salad, which is done with pomegranate molasses and sumac. Falafel is one of the things that everybody has a very unique take on it. We do ours all with chickpeas. We don't use any garbanzo beans, and lots of green stuff in there. So, lamb lollipops are a family recipe. We rub these with Greek yogurt and turmeric and something called 7 spices. And we cook them with cinnamon rice and pine nuts. Those are probably, you know, our signature dishes all throughout. We wanted to recreate the Lebanese kitchen in our bar. So what we ended up doing, we took Middle Eastern spices and started infusing spirits with them and incorporating them in our cocktails. So one of the most popular cocktails we've had since we've opened is called Hibiscus Bloom, and uses hibiscus. We mix it with gin, lime, simper syrup, and add some tonic, and muddled with cucumber. It's like a very refreshing cocktail. Happy hour daily, 3:30 to 5:30. What's your story, Vancouver?